welcome to the Friendzy.
It is a frenzy today. Hi, I'm Melissa Carter.
And I'm Jenn Hobby.
The Frenzy's mission is to celebrate friendships over 40.
We believe that women thrive through authentic relationships, self-discovery, and spiritual exploration.
Our decades-long friendship continues to grow because we are willing to go there and share the truth through life's highs and lows.
And that's why the Friendzy is here to hold space for women who are 40 and older, because at this age, your story matters more than ever.
I'm Melissa, and at 51, I bought my first pair of Vanity Glasses.
Yay!
And this is better. You look, this is why you join our YouTube tribe as well, because we record all these and we're on YouTube. Can I do show and tell now?
Yes.
Or do you want to do yours next?
No,
all right,
you go.
So every 5 years or so, I go to the eye doctor to update prescriptions. And so I'm nearsighted. So I've been wearing glasses for a long time just to drive and to watch TV or go to movies, right? All right. So but this year I said, I'm going to get Vanity Glasses specifically for the Friendzy videos because of my dark circles. All right. I'm going to show you. All right. See if you like them, Jen. Again, sorry for those who are listening. Okay. First pair. This is my prescription pair. You like them?
Those? Yes.
I like
they're
these.
very
I
cool.
think these are my favorite.
Those are very like superhero-y.
But I was afraid that I would get them confused if I got the same frames, right?
Correct.
All right. These are my prescription sunglasses.
Cute.
All right. And
very
so
Hollywood.
And then me and the woman who was helping me, I said, I need a pair of glasses that don't have a prescription in them. And she looked at me crazy. But anyway, so these are them. But again, if you're not on YouTube, I'm sorry, but they're Ray-Ban. And you can tell because Ray-Ban on the ones that are not prescription stamped right on the glass. And
but you have to see it? You look at it?
Well, on camera, it looks like I got a smudge. Anyway, so I may scrape that off eventually. But anyway, so if you go to YouTube, you can see them. And I'd love for you to put in the comments whether you like them or not. But the purpose of them, long story short, is I've had dark circles my whole life. And we talked about this on a past episode where I decided that I'm just going to do this to distract people from my dark circles. Because as we get into wintertime, people they're genetic. They are always there. But as the weather gets colder, my skin gets paler and they get darker. And people, my whole life, from my parents to my siblings to other people, just look at me. Little kids ask me if I got hit in the face. I mean, people always look at me like, "Oh, you poor thing. Are you feeling okay?" And it's like, they have nothing to do with anything. They have nothing to do with my transplant. They have nothing to do with my IBS. They're genetic. My dad had them. My grandmother had them. I don't know where Ada got them from, but anyway, hopefully I don't pass them down to Mr. Carter, but I'm Melissa, and that's my story.
I like these Vanity Glasses. I think they're cute.
Except for that Ray-Ban thing, right?
The words are a little distracting.
It's weird. Why?
It's like you got the display copy.
Right. And I probably did.
The lady at the shop was like, what do I give this woman for her Vanity Glasses? Let me give her the ones that say Ray-Ban. It looks like you got like the ones from the display, not the ones you're supposed to wear.
I think
nobody wants to read a word every time they look at it. I think you're
right. I got the display. See, she looked at my dark circles and felt bad for me and said, pitiful. I'll just give her the display. Because I don't know what she's asking for. Anyway.
Yeah, I think you got to take them back and get ones that are the exact same frames, because those are cute frames, but without the words on them.
Right?
Anyway, yeah, that seems like you intentionally got a tattoo there.
Or I'm trying to pose. Who gives a shit that I've got Ray-Ban glasses? But look at me.
If you watch on YouTube, tell me if you think Melissa got Ray-Ban tattooed on her face, because that's what it looks like, is that you actually got it on your skin, not on the glasses.
It's like a posh prison tattoo.
Yeah, like you got a hit prison.
Sorry.
You are so tough.
But let me know if, does this take away those thoughts you've had before of, oh, why does she have bags? And, oh, is she getting enough sleep? I'm telling you, I get all kinds of thoughts and reactions to me.
And you know what? At this age, you got to do what you got to do to make yourself feel good. That's just where I am. And my stage of all of that is like, if you want to wear Vanity Glasses, great. If you want to go get Botox, great. If you want to go do whatever that you want to do it.
Right. Because now you can see the color of my eyes instead of wondering what's wrong with me. Because I bet most people couldn't tell you the color of my eyes because they've never gone that far. They've never looked that far up. Anyway, sorry, Jen, your turn.
Don't apologize. I love this part of the show. Okay, I'm Jen, and I finally watch the movie The Notebook for the first time.
You hadn't seen it?
I had not seen it. It came out
Oh.
I looked it up. It came out in 2004. Every woman under the sun has seen that
Oh,
movie
what a
100
great
times,
story.
and I was always left out. I never had seen The Notebook. I mean, this whole time, how many years has it been now? What is it, 16?
Almost 20 years, Jen.
Yeah, almost 20 years I've heard people talk about, "Oh, The Notebook," and "If I'm a bird, you're a bird," and all that.
Oh,
I've
such a
heard the
great
quotes and
story.
all. I never watched it until we were on a very long flight. My family just went to Switzerland to see family,
Very
and we
nice.
on our flight back from Paris, so we flew Geneva to Paris, Paris to Atlanta, and on the Paris flight, I was my both of my kids were sleeping in my lap and I was bored and I was like, I'm gonna watch a movie. And I was scrolling through and they had The Notebook. And I'm like, oh, everybody has talked about this for the longest time. I'm gonna watch it. Some people say it's sad. I'll be fine. I sobbed my eyes out the entire
Oh,
flight.
isn't it
That is
great?
such a great movie. And I'm so
It's
glad I'm not left out. Have you ever had that happen to you? Like a pop culture trend that you just missed out on
I'm
for so many
sure.
years? You just like didn't know what everybody was talking about? That was me with The Notebook.
Well, yeah,
I'm finally in the know.
it's a little cheesy because in real life, I think that, it's a great story, but nobody dies together and nobody would look at a guy that built you a house and thought that he's not like a creeper, stalker dude. But it was just
The Notebook
it's just
Deconstructed by Melissa Carter.
sorry. No, that's beautiful. I don't mean to make it not beautiful.
It
It's
was
beautiful.
so sweet.
It's a
Oh my
sweet
gosh. I
story.
just boohooed and
Oh,
cried and cried and cried on that flight, but it was worth it. Now I'm in the know.
yeah. All right. Well, coming up on today's show, we do have more topics to talk about on
That's
today's
right.
show. And believe it or not, this was not planned. We did not plan this in advance. It just happened that Jen and I are room mothers at our children's classrooms for the first time ever.
Room
And so,
moms unite.
so we're, so we're going to talk about the mania, the manic, experience it is to be a room mom.
I'm so excited to dive into that. Also, we've got a you don't know my life question. And that question is, what dessert do you love the most? And what memory does it inspire? So think
Hmm.
about your answer to that. And Melissa and I will both answer that coming up.
We also have our new Friendzy advice column where we get questions from you. And this week's question is from Christine in Atlanta. And she wants to know why women can't accept direct feedback.
Oh,
Hmm.
this will be good. Plus, Melissa Carter has a mirror mantra to say to your reflection this week.
Even if it has Ray-Ban in the reflection.
And the reflection. Wait, what's Ray-Ban backwards?
Ye-
Nabyar. Sorry, we're just feeling goofy today. All right. Have you signed up for the Frenzy Weekly email yet? Please do. We will send the new episode right to your inbox. And we also include links to things that we discuss and give you deeper insights into these topics. If we talk about a book, you can buy it there. And it's how you get into our private Facebook group. So sign up at thefrenzy.com today.
And thank you to the listeners who have subscribed to our email list at thefrenzy.com. Our three new friends are Trudy Blackman, Stephanie Smith, and Catherine Butcher. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Jen, we are going to dive into Room Mom Mania here in just a minute. But first, let's thank our sponsors. And it's not Ray-Ban.
Or Nabyar.
You know what? If we ever become super famous, that has to be the name that we check into hotels with. Nabyar.
Nabyar. All right, sing it, Melissa Carter.
Kit Pajamas. Almost broke my own glasses. Kit Pajamas, where you can get a 10% discount if you use the code Friendzy.
That's right. And then check your veins with
Lifeline Screening.com. Non-invasive. Go get your veins checked.
Use the code FRIENDS with a Z. Drop the Y. Okay. All right. Melissa Carter and I are both room moms for the first time ever this year. So we're simultaneously experiencing what it's like to be a room mom or room parent, right?
Yes, it's and it was unplanned. We just Jen committed first, and I was like, "Oh, that's so interesting." And then my class needed so I'm the assistant, I'm not the head, but, I'm the assistant room mother, and so I was like, "I can't believe I'm gonna do it because my Millie Pete was a room mother for me, in the 4th grade, and I just remember that being so
So
cool.
cute.
So, yeah. But
Yeah.
the yeah, but
So,
go ahead.
yeah, so, my experience so far has been great. We're still, sort of at the beginning of the school year, so nothing
This is
crazy
before
has
and after.
happened.
This is the before, right? Where we
This is the
talk about it now?
before. Well,
Well,
yeah, and then we can talk about the end of the school year too. But so far it's been good. I feel a little disconnected with the other parents though, because we're still in the pandemic and parents aren't really allowed to go to school. So we're kind of doing it all digitally. But I will say that the one feather in my cap is that I did my very first successful sign up genius. Do you know what a sign up
okay,
genius
yes,
is?
I do know what Sign Up Genius is.
Everybody who's
For
got a
those who
kid in
don't,
elementary
yeah.
school has probably received a Sign Up Genius. It's where, the room mom or parent sends out like, "Hey, we need a bunch of volunteers to do this. Can you sign up in this spot?" Or, "Hey, we need, a bunch of different items." And my daughter Lauren's 3rd grade class had a big outdoor s'mores get together. It was like a s'mores social. So we
Aw.
needed all the s'mores items donated from all the parents, and we got it sent out. And I am proud to say, Melissa Carter, every single spot was filled.
Oh, you didn't have to do a follow-up on, "Hey,
I
don't forget?"
I was like, I
Nice.
felt like a room mom champion. I felt
Yes.
so much satisfaction from that sign up genius. It's really scary. I mean, how proud I was.
Well, but the fact because normally, again, for those who are not Sign Up Genius people, there's the follow-up emails and then the 3rd email, "Hey, just
And
letting
then
you
it
know some
seems
slots are
desperate.
open." And then it's like, "Yes, well, I know you said, we're trying not to pick on you in the back of the class, but we need you to come in and so that is very impressive, very impressive.
I was very excited about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Now what grade? Which
3rd.
3rd grade, you're doing Lauren's class. Well,
Yes.
Mr. Carter's in the 1st grade. He is back at school in the same issue as you. I was thinking when I mentioned that Millie Pete was my 4th grade room mother, that she was always in the classroom consistently,
Right.
right?
Visiting and helping, and that's kind of a
She was
thing. That's what I was really
present.
hoping for this year.
And that was cool as a kid to have your mom there and, like, I don't know, there's bragging rights to your mom being there, and,
Yeah.
I have the same situation as you where parents are not allowed in the school. They don't wanna, for germ reasons, COVID reasons, and I understand that, but I'm the assistant, so again, and I tease the head room mother because she was the room mother for the, kindergarten remote class. And so she's the room mother again, and she, there and you seem to have that personality, which is, like the older and again, I always bring up older kid, younger kid because Jen's the oldest, I'm the youngest, but there is something to that where an oldest kid, because you were given a lot of responsibility
Yeah.
up front and you weren't really allowed to be anything other than a co-parent to your parents, that you have this, um ability to lead very easily. And so it's appropriate. And I tease the other room mother because I'm like, I'm just here for you. And she's like, no, it's not that way. It's not, but I know it's that way. I know that she is in charge, right? And I'm the baby, so I'm the one that's adaptable. So I'm the one, whatever you need, I'm here to help. I'm here to help. So we have helped with the Halloween party. That's been our latest thing is since
Awesome.
they can't have food at the Halloween party and they can't do what they normally do, which is parents come in and volunteer to run the Halloween party, that we've organized the pumpkins and the crafts that the teachers will have on hand for said Halloween party that will just be the class. So, yes.
You just made me panic. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need to do a new sign up genius for the Halloween party.
Oh, you're so
I
excited.
I'm so far behind. Ah,
But
I'm
here's a
panicking."
Yeah, but here's the thing I will say now, because we can't be all vanilla, right? We gotta be, that's everything's positive, everything's good about it. I think that, one of the, struggles, at least I have, and I don't wanna say struggles, but I think that the dynamic of our parents is that, this was the remote class, meaning these are all the parents that have concerns about COVID probably more so than most other parents, right? Because
Mhm.
there's a diverse group of people out in our community who have their own reactions to COVID. This is the class that chose to keep their kids home all year. And so they're the ones that either have immunocompromised conditions like myself or their child does. And so, there's, I think that they are very, gosh, how do I put it? And I mean it with respect. I'm not complaining, but I can see where uh sometimes or there may be a case in which the other room mother and I have to rein in emotions as well as, pumpkins and crafts and things to do for the classroom.
Emotions about what?
So, like, if the school okay, I'll give an example.
Come on, dish.
This the school after Labor Day, because my son's school, I really support because they've taken this very seriously, and this is no slant on the educational system, but I will say that there are some schools that I think have not taken COVID as seriously as they should. And so I again, as a kidney transplant recipient, I'm one that look, we can agree to
Mhm.
disagree, but I'm very conservative about this COVID and I'm very conservative about masks and vaccines and I'm in support of vaccines and science and requirements and that thing and mandates. And so the school, which I thought was so neat, after Labor Day, because there was the assumption that a lot of people were going to go out of town for Labor Day. And for those who are not in Atlanta, Jen and I record this in Atlanta, in Georgia. And so there's split, reactions to COVID in Georgia. And at the
I mean,
time,
there's split reactions to COVID all around the world. I've gotta tell you, this is making me think about telling you about our Switzerland trip, of how they're
oh,
handling COVID in
really?
Europe. Yeah, it's very different. Go ahead.
Oh,
I'll tell
okay.
you when you're done.
Okay, cool. So, um, so there were cases were rising in Georgia, and so to make sure the school kept mitigated the cases of COVID following Labor Day, they hired dog sniffers because there's science that dogs can sniff out active COVID
Wow.
infections,
That's so cool.
and so they had 2 dogs on site at carpool, and all you had to do was the child was gonna walk past the dog and go into the door, and the dog was just gonna alert somebody if they smelled COVID in a kid. And
Wow.
and that way
Fascinating.
they were gonna send the kid home, and that way, even if you didn't get tested, even if you had no idea, they were gonna keep COVID out of that school, and so there was a difference in opinion of the parents, and there was a flood of messaging. And here, my first reaction as a geek was, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know dogs could do that, and that is so neat." And how cool is that? But
Yeah, that's what
there
I'm thinking. That's,
there
amazing.
there were some parents who were very concerned about dogs being there. If their kid was allergic, if their kid was scared, if they're, of a dog, and the school had outlined, look, if your kid is afraid or allergic, there's other things we can do. So we don't, you don't have to do that. The school had thought through it all. And I
Yeah.
think that's the thing is being a room mother, I can see where there's an emotional need to remind the parents that the school are the experts and have done all the research they possibly can and thought every scenario through before they institute a policy, right?
Mhm.
Now I say that because I agree with this school's policy. I guess if it was if the school wasn't doing, but there were parents who were very concerned, and so and my thought, my job was to kind of explain that it's actually in your interest. Like if you're the one, you're the ones that don't want COVID in the schools, and this is the fastest way to make sure it's not in the schools, because if you wait for testing following Labor Day, that kid, in fact, a kid could be in the school 2 or 3 days before the test comes back. So anyway, long story short, I thought that was the only time I remember there being a fracture within the group of parents on their reaction to dogs being a simple 15-minute, period of time in our school year that had them emotionally triggered. And
Yeah.
so, and I thought, that's the other job as the room mother, is to keep that from the teacher having to hear it, right? You're trying to
Right,
keep the
you're, like,
teacher.
being the liaison, the communicator of, like, "Here was the intention, here's how we smooth things over, here's how we answer questions," that kinda thing.
And so the other, instead of being the normal Melissa who's very opinionated and sometimes can be condescending in my expression, myself and the other room mother were very gentle in the reaction and very supportive of both the school and the parents.
Look
So we were
at
very
this.
political.
Being a room
Yes.
mom is soften you up. I like it. It's cute.
It's like the Grinch. My heart grew 3 or 3
Yes.
that day. Look at me. So anyway, so
Okay,
what about
so
Switzerland?
sidebar. Yeah, so, going to visit family in Geneva, we had to COVID test to get on the plane, right?
Yeah.
And have our negative results. And then we had to COVID test to get back home again. That was the scary part. I was like, oh, what if, and we were obviously all negative because we came back on, on schedule. If we had been, if any of one of us had been positive, we would have had an extended vacation.
Right.
um, but what's interesting is how they're handling it is they have it's called a COVID pass. So everyone and it's across Europe and a lot of the different countries there, because they all are so much closer together, like states, that they have to talk to each other much more and get along.
Mhm.
Um, they have a COVID pass, which is a QR code on your phone to prove you've been vaccinated. And every public place requires a COVID pass. So you have to hold up your phone and show the QR code, and it gets scanned, and it's your proof that you have been vaccinated. It's in order to go in anywhere. And all the restaurants are required to participate in it. And if they don't, they can't have people in their restaurant. So some restaurants were rebelling against the law and were only doing takeout food. Because we walked up, in Old Town Geneva. It's like they're downtown Switzerland. It's just so beautiful. I mean, it was all, built in the like 1100s, right?
Oh.
I mean, just the streets and all the buildings. There's so much rich history there, but there's little bistros and little restaurants and wine bars and places where everybody sits outside on the cafes. And we walked up to one because it said like wine bar on the outside. And that's my jam. And we walked up and my
Jenn's
nephew,
place.
yeah, my nephew who lives there and speaks fluent French was speaking with the manager and was wondering why nobody was on the deck because we were going to go sit there. And she said, "We don't believe in the COVID pass." So he turned around and he's like, "Well, you're going to go out of business then." So it's an
Mhm.
interesting. There's still dissension amongst the opinion around it, but most people are getting vaccinated there because it's so hard to just go function in life
Right.
without the COVID pass. Here's the other thing that Europe is doing differently. Children are not wearing masks. Children are not masked in school. Children don't have to be masked in public places. If you are under age 12, no mask required.
Okay.
So different, right? So on one hand, they're much more strict about getting vaccinated and allowing you to go and live and function and go anywhere.
Is the idea then if more adults are vaccinated, then they're not passing it to the I don't know. Again, we could spend
I
hours
don't
talking about this, but
know, but I thought you
yeah,
would find that fascinating.
because
Yeah,
it seems inconsistent.
it does, doesn't it? I think they have a different view of how it's traveling through children
Mhm.
versus adults. So, anyway, 2 cents. Sorry, that was a off the room
No,
mom
that's no,
topic,
that's
but, a
what that's
fascinating difference.
that is fascinating. Well, I mean, it is room mother talk, I guess, somehow, because we're room mothers. It's so I have a friend who, um so Mr. Carter recently had his 7th birthday party. He's 7, I can't believe it, and a friend of mine was there, and she was like, she said, "I'm looking at you and Katie Joe, and I'm just because she knew us before, we became parents, and she's like, I can't believe what I see because like we're all in, right? So like I'm all
Yeah,
in. I was like the head master of the birthday party. I'm the room mother. Katie is a little league coach. I mean, like we're
so cute.
we're all in. And so anyway, so the room mom thing is again, it is like half room mom because we're not in the classroom, but maybe that's good because won't be as frantic. I don't know, but I'm curious
Do
what our
you
stories
think
will be later.
Yeah, do you think by the end of the year you would wanna do it again?
We'll see, because I'm in a comfortable spot because I'm the assistant, right? So
But you could learn
I'm the
this year,
beta.
and you could be the alpha.
Yes, it depends on the
By
teacher
3rd
too.
grade,
Doesn't it
you
depend
could
on
be
the
the
teacher
alpha.
too? Like, honestly, teachers, if you're listening, if somebody volunteers to be a room mother, that means they endorse you, right? Or is it the opposite? Because in my case, I adore my son's teacher because she was the remote kindergarten teacher, and the fact that he gets her 2 years in a row is so unique, and I just think she's adorable. And she was a listener to us back in the day, so that helps. No, I'm just kidding, but she is adorable. So my wanting to volunteer is to be able to talk with her more. because I like her. She's like somebody I want to be my friend when he's not her student anymore. But I guess if I didn't like the teacher, I'd be doing it to keep an eye on the class. I don't know. Like, doesn't that say something about the teacher though? If you volunteer to be a room mom,
Maybe. I feel like it says more about, like, wanting to be hands-on. Like, to me, it's
okay,
sort of
it's more of
more
a
of
personality.
it's like a for like, another if you have a responsibility for the class, it's another reason to be hands-on with
Okay,
what's going on in your kid's school.
right. Hmm.
And I like being in the know, you
Well,
know?
yes, I like, yeah. When I was,
You know?
I will say a final note on this, and we'll move on. Um, is that I was the mom who handled, myself and Katie's mom were the homeschool parents, or assistants during COVID when
Yeah.
he was in kindergarten. So I got to hear every day what they were doing. I got to help with assignments. And now I feel shut out
Mhm.
because parents aren't allowed in the building, and I'm not listening to the assignments. And of course, I have the son who, how was school? Fine. What was your highlight of the day? Recess. I mean, like I get nothing out of him.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
most kids. Yeah.
yeah. And
My
so,
little one, Reese, is like that too.
and I'm
But I do
like,
have one talker, Lauren, my 3rd grader. She comes home and she's like, "So, I walked into school and then this happened." And then she gives me all the details.
oh,
It's really
see,
sweet.
that is
But
so
my
sweet.
kindergartner is like Mr. Carter and she won't tell me anything. Not a word.
Yeah. So I feel like it's like like what do you call it when you're off something? I got the DTs. I got the, whatever it is.
You're
Like
shaking.
I'm shaking. I
Got
want to know
the shakes.
yeah, what are
Me
you doing
more
in school?
school.
Well, yeah, what math questions are you doing? What letters are you spelling? What are your sight words this week? So anyway,
Let's see how we feel at the end of the school year.
right? I'll be like, hell no, I'm never doing that again. All right. Okay. Moving on.
Let's grab our question out of the You Don't Know My Life box.
All right. So we gave you a little teaser earlier. I'm curious how you answer this. And Jen, I'll let you go first. So the question today is, what dessert do you wish was in front of you, and what's a memory that's attached to it?
Hands down, the creme brulee trio at Canoe Restaurant in Atlanta on the
Oh,
Chattahoochee River. That's the memory that's attached to it is just going out to dinner on a date night with my husband and having their creme brulee trio. They have it's 3 different gourmet flavors and it's just created perfectly. And the setting there is so beautiful.
what a
There's
great
lots of
restaurant.
yeah, it's just right on the river, so you see the water and all the beautiful landscaping. It's just very picturesque. It was very romantic, and I think crème brûlée is something that you can eat and look sexy while eating it,
Mm,
which is kinda what you wanna do at the end of a date,
right. So,
right?
yes, you don't want to have like stuff in your teeth and
Yeah,
looking,
it's
yeah.
it's just like something you can kind of eat slowly and seductively. Okay, Melissa
Oh,
Carter, what about you?
mine
What
is
dessert do you wish was in front of you, and what memory does it inspire?
what polar opposite because mine is the hot fudge sundae at Shoney's Big Boy because the first thing I thought of is
I
the
love that.
hot the hot chocolate cakes and the ice cream that went with it and the
Mm.
hot fudge and the cherry on top, and we went to Shoney's every Sunday after church, and my mother knew I was such a picky eater, and I was so excited about dessert that I would, only think of it and not my main meal, and so mom would allow me to eat the hot fudge cake first with the agreement I would eat my meal afterwards, and I did, so I
Cute.
got to eat it first.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
sweet memory. That
Sweet
is
mom.
so, so sweet. Do you ever let Mr. Carter do that?
I have, yes. I have because I find that he has asked me the same thing. He is a big donut fan, and we got to the point where donuts are only weekend treats. Like he would eat a box every day if he was given the opportunity. And so he wants donuts as his dessert for dinner, and there are times I'll let him eat the donuts first and he eats the rest of it. So, yeah.
So
That's an homage to Millie
sweet.
Pete right there.
Homage to your mama. I love that. I would never do that to my kids. So you're much nicer mama than I am. I would never let them do that because then they wouldn't eat dinner. They would promise it to me and then they would go back on it. So, yeah.
Well, Mr. Carter does. That would only happen once. If I said,
Mm.
if I said yes and then he wouldn't eat his if he only ate the donuts and so I wouldn't continue that. But yeah, he's and I was for some reason dessert would spur my appetite. It wouldn't end it. So,
Really?
yeah.
My
I
kids would be like, "Ha ha, I had donuts for dinner. Peace out, sucker."
Suck a mama. Anyway.
Okay, moving on to the Frenzy advice column. We encourage you to send us your questions because it's kind of like Dear Abby, but it's Dear Frenzy, right?
Yes.
So we have a question to bat around like a cat with catnip
Okay.
from Christine in Atlanta. And she has this question. Are women too sensitive now? She says, why are we scared to confront people rather than talking about them behind our backs? Why do we text and why do we not pick up the phone and call? And Christine explained to me that she had an interaction with another mom in her kid's class. There was some sort of interaction where she was very direct and gave some direct feedback when she was asked for her opinion. And then that was not welcomed and it turned into a bigger ordeal. She says she is from the Northeast, so she wants to know if it's regional. The other women involved in this, talking behind the back and then excluding her spat situation that happened.
Mhm.
Yes, they're all in their late 30s and early 40s. We're not talking about 20 somethings, right? We're talking about
Right.
grown ass women.
Right.
Um, she says, why can't you just be more direct with people? She says, I don't really sugarcoat my opinion when I'm asked for it. So, what do you think, Melissa Carter? Are women too sensitive now, or is it a regional thing?
Um, I I mean, I guess a lot of people would think it's a regional thing. I'm not sure because I think that there are plenty of women who would talk behind your back in other areas of the country. Maybe,
Mhm.
so I'm not sure if it's a regional thing or not. And I could tell by the way she asked the question that she was the one that got the bad feedback because somebody who is not direct would not ask that question, right? So I could tell that she's the one that didn't get what she wanted. I think, I
Well,
don't think
she's the one who gives the like a more direct, like honest opinion.
correct. I think that she needs to be careful about generalizing that it's all women because she's a woman and she's not that way, right?
Mhm.
But I do think that women are not encouraged to share their opinions. So there's a part of me that's more empathetic about this to the other people. Now, I'm not empathetic to them talking about you behind your back because that's just rude. Like that's just naive and young and insecure and very mean girlish. So
Mhm.
I think that's ridiculous behavior. But I think that to be taken aback by someone who's direct, like if the person simply was kind of like, oh, I don't know how to take this and had to take time to process it, I think that's more normal for women because again, we are taught to be nice and we're taught not to be rude and don't be a bitch. Um, and so, yeah, I think that you were a wonderful person for being able to do that. But I do think, I will say this, um, Katie and I just had a conversation about this when it comes to our son, and I'm not gonna call I usually don't I'm not criticizing Mr. Carter. I'm just being honest that Mr. Carter's a very direct person. He's a very logical, direct person. And so I've noticed at his young age that I'm a stickler for please and thank you. I'm a stickler for it's okay to be direct, but you're gonna have to polish it off a little bit, kind of soften the edges a little bit.
Mhm.
Because is the goal for you to get your point across, or is the goal for you to get something out of the person you're talking to? And if your goal is to get something out of the person you're talking to, then you're going to need to soften it up a little bit, whether it's regional or not. So with my son, it's please and thank you and learning how to be his natural self, but not offend the person he's talking to in case they are the person who's not used to that. So, I don't know if I'm answering my thing is I don't think it's regional. I think it's personality, but I think that you have to take as much responsibility as you think they should because it's okay to be direct, but you also want to be somebody that people want to be around.
True.
I don't
Now,
know.
I think it depends on how close you are with the person because I have some friends that are very direct and I can count on them for being direct. And that's why I go to that friend because I know they're going to shoot from the hip and I know they're not going to tell me oh, that's a great idea when it's a terrible idea. I have friends that will be the what's it called when you're the counterpoint? Always the dissenting opinion, right?
Mhm.
But I will seek that friend out always because I know she's going to look at a situation differently than everybody else is. And she's not going to couch her honesty and, bury it. She's going to
Right.
be direct. So I think to me, I would say to Christine is like, it depends on how close you are with the person, on how direct you can be. If you have built that trust and that friendship, then be as direct as you can. But if it's a new person, you may want to temper how much directness you give them.
Mhm.
With a new person, you've got to kind of, it's a slow dance. It's a slow build to get to that kind of a friendship where you can be 100%
Right.
bluntly honest and tell them something they probably don't want to hear.
Right.
Right?
Right. Agreed. Yes, agreed. Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna discourage anybody from being who they are, right? So I think that for me, the older I get, the more I realize that people are who they are. So if you're direct, you're direct. If you're not, if you're not direct, you're not direct. I think, but you have to be responsible for the negative part of your personality. So if you are someone who talks about somebody behind their back because you're not confident enough to confront them face on, well, it's one thing not to be somebody who's confident to face up, but you can't talk about somebody behind their back. Like you can't make
Mhm.
somebody who's direct the victim just because they're telling you how they feel, right? So I think that insecurity shows in the way that the people are treating you. Oh, what's her name again? I'm sorry. Uh,
Christine.
Direct Christine. That people, you're the secure one, obviously. My advice to you, yes, is just to kind of soften it up a little bit. I don't know if that's a Southern thing or not, but soften it up just a little bit, so you can get what you want. But to the mean girls that are doing that to you, that's just, I mean, I was going to say we're not in elementary school, but elementary school kids don't do that,
No,
right?
it's more like middle school.
That's more like middle school behavior.
Yeah,
Yes.
it seems a little middle schoolish. Now, the one last question I wanted to address was why text and why not pick up the phone and call?
Well, I hate the
Because
fucking phone. I'm sorry. I look, I was a telemarketer when I first started out at Turner Broadcasting. I moved to Atlanta for a damn telemarketing job thinking it was gonna lead somewhere else at Turner, right? Jen's been on CNN. I have not been on CNN. So, I mean, so that was a but I did move to Atlanta for that job, and it was the worst job because telemarketers get yelled at all the time. That is their
Mm,
entire 8 hours a day, people cussing at me because you don't call customer service unless something is wrong. You don't call
yeah,
customer service and say, "You're doing such a great job." And
no.
so I had that job at 22 years old, and I still hate the phone. So I don't know how to answer that because I won't answer the phone. Like, I have people who are like, if I'm calling you, that means you need to pick up, there's an emergency, because they know to text me. You text me first, don't call me. I'll answer Jen's calls, but not very many other people. I'll answer Kitty Joe's calls. I'll answer my son's calls,
But that's
but
it.
that's about it. That's
Very,
about
very
it.
pretty short list.
That's about it.
Okay, I love it. Now, see, I think if you do have an issue with somebody or there's a conflict, talking about it on the phone or being face to face is a better way to resolve conflict than text because sometimes you can read inflection, in text and email. Sometimes the tone of voice doesn't necessarily come through that
Right.
you're trying to use.
That's true. That's true. You seem more direct. So I don't know, Christine, why you mind texting because that's this direct. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Uh,
Christine, text Melissa and tell her what you really think.
exactly. Exactly.
She'll love it. All right. Melissa has got this week's mirror mantra.
Yes. It's very brief, but it is something that I think will resonate with all women. And here it is: apologize for your mistakes, not for your feelings. Apologize for your mistakes, not your feelings.
I
And
like it.
meaning most women apologize for something every day. And it's usually, I mean, and sometimes it's because of how you feel about something, right? And Christine, go back to
Mhm.
Christine, like there are probably women who, unlike her, right? The opposite of Christine, who are the ones that always, well, this is what I'm sorry but this is what I'm sorry that I think, but no, don't be sorry for how you feel or what you think. If you make a mistake, apologize then. And that's the only time you should apologize.
So good. So good. If you enjoy this episode of The Frenzy, please share it with a friend. We would love for more friends like you to find out about our show. And if you are enjoying this podcast, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening, and please leave us a review.
All right. And you can also go to the Friendzy's YouTube channel where we have videos. We have extended interviews and bloopers. And the more I do this show and see that Ray-Ban on I realized they did give me the floor sample.
I think you got
this
the
is
floor
embarrassing.
sample.
I feel like a jester here with this. Anyway, you can check it out on YouTube, but tell me if you like the frames. That's the main thing.
I love the frames.
Look, the one thing about the Ray-Ban is I mean, cutting it, you are absolutely not looking at my dark circles when you're looking at that. You're just wondering why the hell she got something on her glasses. Anyway, go to the YouTube, go to YouTube, and we have finally our vanity URL, the Friendzy Podcast.
Follow at The Friendzy on Instagram, and you can DM us with your advice column questions and any feedback on the show you want to send along. We'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. We are here for you, and we want to remind you, share your story. Open up about your story with trusted friends because your story matters.
The Friendzy is hosted and produced by Melissa Carter, her, and me, Jenn Hobby.
What is it? Ray-Ban backwards?
Nabyar.
The Friendzy is hosted and produced by Nabyar because that is going to be our celebrity names. All right. Sound edited by Bo Johnson. Original soundtrack produced by Tammy Hurt for placement music, written and recorded by Mark Daniels.
The Friendzy celebrates friendships over 40. So thank you so much for spending your time with us. We love your friendship.
All right. Until next week, trust your gut.
Share your story.
And stop
lying about your age.
We'll see you next time.